that we once had something and lost it. And that what we had was a higher mode of consciousness. What is enlightenment? Is it just for a few Buddhist people? Or is it for religious people in general? No, everyone can benefit from it. Everyone can get enlightened. But what exactly is enlightenment and how does it work? These questions we will investigate in this video. First of all, yes, enlightenment sounds very religious because its results are absolutely inner peace, a kind of bliss that means a pure feeling of connectedness and happiness. You also can say enlightenment is pure love. There's also little evidence on it in the religions. I will go into it in a few minutes. Actually, I want to talk about enlightenment without religion, because religions limited enlightenment, and this also I'd like to discuss in 2 minutes. The basic thing what enlightenment is and how you can reach this pure love, this bliss, is through switching off your mind. That's all. But there's also a misunderstanding. Switching off the mind doesn't mean to lose your mind and to become a mental illness or so. That is not what switching off means. Switching off is just what many people wish to have when they come from work and they are still in the overthinking process and can't switch off the mind and wish to switch off it, and lots of people try it with alcohol, and that's not a good idea. Better would it be to meditate. All meditators know what enlightenment is. It is the highest aim in meditation. Currently, meditation is often used in the medical system for getting inner peace, and from this inner peace they get more concentration and even healing, and there is lots of evidence on it. But actually the highest aim of meditation is enlightenment. And it's not really a special thing, it's not hard to reach. It's just the blockade that we have in our heads from what enlightenment is, because it is, from a religious standpoint, understand it in wrong ways. You can say, for example, Jesus or Buddha were enlightened. Yes, but all the followers, they wrote down what Jesus and Buddha said, because Jesus himself hasn't wrote down anything, and the followers maybe didn't get it fully, so there are maybe a few mistakes in it. Therefore, let's go now into the religious stuff and why this is a blockade to reach enlightenment. All four religions actually are responsible to help people to get enlightenment, but you can say in most cases the opposite happened. Therefore, it is so important then that we talk about it. The first thing is, and this is maybe especially in Christianity, that it is believed that just very few people can reach enlightenment, or can become holy. And there are several holies named, but you never know if they have been really enlightened, because there's no evidence on it. When there was a bad pope in the past, in history, and he gives a holy status for a guy who is a good fighter and killed lots of people in the name of God. So therefore many people got a holy status in the past, which haven't been holy, but instead killed lots of people. But the misunderstanding from being holy or enlightenment, and that it can just reach very few people, is that the religions transfer that you must be very, very good and you should not enjoy life. You should avoid having fun and all this stuff. You should live like a very boring lifestyle, and only then you can reach enlightenment or a holy status. And therefore many people believe that they are not good enough to become enlightened because they already had sex, or they already had eaten too much or drank alcohol, and so they believe they are not good enough. They live a bad life, are bad guys, they are not holy enough. So this is a blockade. But there are also good aspects in religions which describe enlightenment, but they are in most cases not told at the church or in other religious places, but you can read it in lexicons. You can take a religious or a philosophy lexicon and you can look for enlightenment and what it is described. It's pretty easy, but you can also find it in religions, for example, in the Eastern religions. It is often called Samadhi, and in Christianity it is called contemplation, or in Latin original contemplatio. And this is the same what enlightenment means. In contemplatio, you feel a union with God and with everything. Like I said in the beginning, like the feeling of connectedness. And the same feeling is described at contemplatio and also as union with God. And in the context of contemplation, it is also said that during the union you become God as long as you are in this mode of contemplatio. And there is another evidence on it. In the Bible, John also said God is love. God is not a man and nothing else. I took another video about it. You can find the link to it down below in the video description. And it's not that God is love. You also benefit from this love in that moment of the unity with God. And this works not that you like hugging him or so, because he's not a man and not material. It is in the connectedness. But through meditation, you make yourself empty. Empty of thoughts, empty of emotions, empty of everything. And when your soul becomes empty, it's nothing. Empty sounds for many people maybe as a negative thing, but no, when you are really empty and don't depend to anything and are not depending to any material thing and are really empty of thoughts and emotions and whatever, then there is free space that you can God let in. Or actually it works automatically. You don't have to give any effort into it. Enlightenment is pretty easy. The main point is, like also in meditations, you must just clear your mind. I will go into how to become enlightened and how it works to clear the mind in a few minutes. Let's first continue with the second and last aspect about religions. The second limitation of religions is that they say you can enlightenment just reach in the next life. You are now not good enough. It's very similar to the first aspect, but it's a little different. And it also differs from religion to religion. For example, in Christianity, they see the next life is when you are in heaven or in hell or whatever. And so you have to behave good in this life that you can get enlightened, or that means for them to reach heaven in the next life. But to reach heaven or paradise, it is now accessible. It sounds, what I say, it sounds like esoteric or like you can say nonsense. But it is written in the Bible that God is always there waiting, but most people are not interested. And that's the thing. What God is, you can say it's similar to enlightenment. This is when you are in this union with God. This is very similar to enlightenment. I already said in the context of contemplatio. And therefore, you can say heaven or paradise, whatever. And most authors and lexicons also take a synonym. It is reachable now. And actually, there are also meditation methods. They say you can go in this enlightenment, in this higher consciousness, just through throwing out your thoughts, which are most of the time in the past or in the future. And this is the problem with the mind wandering. Mind wandering or overthinking is always in the past or in the future, or in both at the same time. And taking situations from the past, remember something from the past, and project a negative future. It remembers, oh, there was such a silly thing in the past. Maybe the next time when I go there, I will have the same problems. So in the future, and the mind produces anxiety or anger or whatever belongs to your temperament. And with always thinking about past and future, mind creates a personality with a life story. Often it is more imagined than a true story. It's kind of an illusion, just being in the past and in the future and creating, and also in situations in the current moment when you act with people or talk with people, one also wears kind of a mask, always hiding and feeling guilty for whatever happened in the past and whatever is blaming me. So most people hide things behind a mask and want to give a good image to other people, want to present themselves in a very good way. Therefore, also the mind is very often in the past and in the future and tries to search negative things from the past and judge myself that I was not good enough in any situation and I have to behave better the next time. And so this over reflecting and overthinking is very self-destroying, and it creates an illusionary life history. And with exactly this, the mind keeps you away from enlightenment. Because, as I said in the very beginning, enlightenment is to switch off the thinker, to switch off the never-ending speaking mind inside of you. And there are several meditation methods that explain how you can find the now, how you can concentrate of the current moment right now. And this is a very good method, or there are several of them. How this functions, I also produced a video and linked it in the video description below. When I talk about religions, I don't want to say they are bad or so. There are also good things in it, like this ethical stuff. Don't get me wrong when I talk from limitations of the religions. They have good stuff, but to really reach what their main message is, you have to know about enlightenment. In most churches and in other religious places, they almost never talk about it. And that's a big problem, because that's the main core of all religions. And even in Christianity, yes, you can say, yes, it is the main core in Buddhism. That's correct. That's everybody knows it, but almost no one tries to reach it. I don't know why. Because why not benefit from this bliss, happiness, connectedness, or pure love? Or you can say heaven on earth. Religions try to say it, like the paradise mode. The paradise was not just a material place, like some extraordinary religious groups say. It is meant with this mental mode of enlightenment, that when people fall from paradise, were thrown out of the paradise, is an image that we once had something and lost it. And that what we had was a higher mode of consciousness. And in this case, I also can say enlightenment is the same as higher consciousness. But it's not to confuse with human consciousness. Human consciousness we have all the time, and human consciousness is what includes the mind, what we have to overcome to reach our higher consciousness. What is enlightenment? What Paradise tried to say was that enlightenment is our actually mode, our original mode. But someday the thinker in us became too strong and overwhelms enlightenment all the time. Enlightenment is always there. You must just find a meditation method, for example, this with the here and now, and then you can go through that door. What is when Jesus talks from kind of a door you have to knock on. It is also an image that it is easy to come in, what most people are searching for, but they try it to find with alcohol to switch off the mind. But this will not work, just for a short time, and then, or maybe sometimes alcohol works in the opposite and overthinking becomes even worse. Therefore, better is meditation. Sometimes in small babies you can see that light, that kind of light. And when they are born, they come from this other dimension where you can say where God is or what heaven is. And they come here in our dimension, in this earth, and they still have something divine in their face when they laugh. They are not educated to think all the time what we are educated. Unfortunately, they are free. And therefore, they have still this enlightenment. To deeper describe what enlightenment is, I go into Buddhism. Buddha defined enlightenment just as to be freed from suffering. That means as long as we are not enlightened, we suffer. Because as long as we are not enlightened, our mind is overthinking all the time and is always searching for other material things or searching for happiness, but not from within, more from that people come and make my life better, or I can buy anything which makes my life better, but they don't find the peace from within. The peace is always there. You must just get access to it. Some people could say now, they don't suffer. They are fine, they have everything. But when you are alone and you consider, and sometimes negative thoughts come up and you can't get control about them, you suffer. But with enlightenment, you can learn how to get control about your thoughts, and even about the worst thoughts. Or when you have everything, how long does it take until you don't enjoy this stuff anymore? You buy a new smartphone, and how long does it take? A month or two, and you need another one. But then the brand has not produced the next generation, and so you suffer. Or when you hold on to material things and suddenly something happens and you lose stuff, you suffer. There is nothing which you can hold on for forever. But there is just one thing which will stay forever. And this is your true self, your higher consciousness, enlightenment. This is always there. God. It is written in the Bible. He's always there. In my opinion, this world could be a better place when more people, or even all people, would be enlightened. Enlightenment really doesn't mean that you lose your mind. It's the opposite. When you get enlightened and you get the ability to shut up your mind and to switch it on whenever you want, when you need it for an exercise, a task, whatever, then you can switch it on. And when you don't need it, and before it just runs in this overthinking process and produces negative thoughts over negative thoughts and makes suffering to you, you can switch it off and meditate. This is a high target, but it is reachable. For example, through Vipassana meditation or other methods. But what does this mean? That Buddha said, enlightenment is the end of all suffering. That doesn't mean that enlightened people suddenly are kind of angels or so and nobody can beat them. They are still people like you and me. Like they have skin and a body, the whole body with and can be hit or beaten from others too, and things happen in their life, but they don't suffer from that. They can bear it suddenly. It is not hard to bear it anymore. That means they just suffer from the outside, what is obviously for us, but from the inside they can take it like a tree. When you do something to a tree doesn't cry, or tree isn't angry against you, and you can become as hard as a tree. Not just hard like material hard, of course, just to bear everything, because you are full of love. And when someone comes and hurts you, and today most pain is psychological, and also this you can bear very easy in this mode of higher consciousness, in the mode when you are your true self and not the ego, which is present most of the time and produces past and future. To know more about consciousness is very important. A friend of mine considers to establish teachings about consciousness in educational systems. And I think this is a really good idea, because so people learn from the very beginning to benefit from their own inner self, and they don't suffer anymore. And with this ability, everyone could increase his or her life quality. And so with this inner peace, you don't fight anymore. You don't fight against other people. And then wars will not happen anymore. Lots of people try to fight wars from the outside through demonstrations, or fight a war with another war when a state attacks another state. And what I said is also included the inner fights. Everyone has inner fights when the thoughts are against anything or anybody, and you have inner fights, or even when you are alone and you can see that you have inner conflicts. Sigmund Freud named it. Also, these fights will stop. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have less fights in the next time. Have a good day. See you in the next video, or hear you in the next podcast. Bye.